Have you ever wondered about the Christmas star? What was it? What was its significance? And why was it only mentioned in the Gospel of Matthew, which had been written for a Jewish audience? The first thing we need to understand is that without the invention of the telescope, ancient people referred to all points of light in the night sky other than the moon as stars. That would have included the planets, novas, supernovas, comets, and the Christmas star. Now, clearly, the Christmas star doesn't fit our modern definition of a star, a natural object dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of light years distant. So eliminate that and give up any attempt at using astronomical software and trying to figure out what star or planetary conjunction it could have been. With its ability to move across the night sky and guide the Magi right to the exact house where Jesus was, it clearly was of a supernatural origin. Now, many scholars believe that the Magi, aka wisemen, lived about 900 miles to the east of Israel, in Persia or Arabia, roughly a 40-day journey by foot. And Matthew tells us that in their discussion with Herod, they had first noticed the star when it rose in the east, and perhaps that had been up to 2 years prior. Sorry, contrary to your children's Christmas pageant, the Magi did not arrive on the night of Christ's birth and hung out with the shepherds around the manger. Matthew tells us that they arrived at the house where Jesus was. And given the fact that Herod had ordered the murder of all Jewish boys 2 years and under, then perhaps their arrival was somewhere around that 2-year mark. Clearly, the Magi had seen something in the night sky, signifying to them that a king in Israel had been born. Now, how they deduced all of that, or why it took them so long to go see Jesus, we're not told. Now, what intrigues me is that Herod and the religious leaders in Jerusalem were clearly caught off guard by the Magi's visit and all of their talk about a star, especially in their skies free of modern light pollution. Ancient people, they scoured the night skies, searching for signs from the heavens of some important event, and yet apparently Herod and the religious leaders hadn't seen anything. Which, to me at least, indicates that, contrary to popular belief, the Christmas star didn't literally move across the night sky, guiding the Magi all the way from their homeland 900 miles to the east of Israel to where Jesus was in Bethlehem. Rather, Matthew only mentions its movement in verse 9 after the Magi had left Herod's presence and set out for Bethlehem, which was only about a 6-mile distance. It would seem that after seeing the star 2 years prior, it disappeared, only to reappear that very night. That would explain why the Magi first went to Jerusalem, the capital city of Israel, where the palace was, where you would logically expect a king to be, rather than some dingy little town called Bethlehem that the Magi had probably never even heard of. Now, as I had mentioned at the beginning of this video, the Gospel of Matthew had been written to a Jewish audience. So why had Matthew been inspired to include this story? Well, the Magi were Gentiles. They were pagans. They were heathens. And yet God had chosen to reveal his son, his Messiah, to them and lead them on a journey of almost 1,000 miles. Contrast that with the religious leaders, who were completely oblivious to the fact that the Messiah spoken of in their scriptures had been living for the past 2 years a mere 6 miles from them. This same religious establishment who 30 years into the future would reject this Messiah and crucify him. We see what we want to see, and God reveals himself to those who long to see him. From my family to yours, Merry Christmas, and I hope to see you in the new year.